Once we survive one thing, then it's like, all right, now there's another thing to get over. There's another challenge to survive and try to get on top of. I slowly realized that I watched my parents come out of that, but I hadn't seen it for myself. Even though I can look back and see where that's coming from, where I shifted out of a level of survival mode, because I feel like there are different aspects of survival in different areas. But I do feel like I have witnessed that for myself. Where the challenge comes in for me is now that I am out of that state for the most part. I feel like sometimes you end up in it without really wanting to, but now the more that I think about it, I don't even know if I want to call it that anymore. It's not a survival state. It's just a challenge of where I'm at. I feel like it's starting to sink in that each new avenue that I come to that is past that survival state is going to have its own set of challenges. So even though you might be out of survival mode and you're finally in this comfort zone where you're not struggling, that was kind of the last 3 years before getting married and moving into a house of I just gotten over a huge financial hit and all of these things right as I was coming into my 30th birthday. Then the pandemic happened. Once we started to come out of the pandemic, in terms of being able to go outside and things like that, not necessarily that COVID went away because it didn't, but I realized that those 3 years that I spent in that apartment, although it had its challenging moments, I wasn't really in survival mode. I was finally in a place where like I was living comfortably. Maybe it's that comfortability that's I'm clinging to a little bit, but it seems that each time that things get comfortable for me, something shakes it up. I used to be afraid of that. I'm still cautiously allowing myself to accept and just be in that kind of state, mainly because it's unknown for me. Since it's unknown, it's difficult to it's difficult to navigate because I don't know what's next. I don't have a roadmap for that. When it's survival mode, it's kind of easy to pick up on the patterns of, okay, there's a state where there's this pressure of time. You're having to meet something at a certain time. Then you get to that time point, you manage to skate through by the skin of your teeth. And now you have to like rebuild. Like there's just this pattern that seems to happen in the survival mode. So it's almost like an adrenaline rush of I gotta get through this. But when you're kind of leveling up your life into new territory of things that you've never experienced or even witnessed. Some of the things that I'm coming into and trying to navigate, I don't have anybody in my immediate family to fully relate to. That makes it even scarier because it's like, who do I go to try to understand how do I navigate this next challenge? I realize that has been the chains that have been holding me back of really pushing to create the things that come to mind for me and build on that and take ownership to lead it, to spearhead it. And that is the part that scares me because it's not that I'm concerned about failing. I know that I won't, even though there will be moments where things don't always go the way that I want it to. I know deep in my gut that if I were to just consistently do the things that I know would aid in that level up, if you will, that it will be successful in some form. Yes, there will be iterations, but it's just a roadmap that I am not familiar with. Everyone that I see or can think of that has traveled down a version of that road, because it's never the same for each person, I'm not super close to. It's not that I don't have access to people to ask about those things. I think I'm just nervous to be vulnerable about where I'm at currently and why I'm not there. I'm realizing I need to take back what I said of not knowing people close to me. I do know a handful of people close to me who have elevated to a space where I'm trying to be. My challenge and mental hurdle is because our paths are so unique, even though the underlying messaging or goal is elevate our lifestyle, elevate to the next level of life experience that is out of survival and comfort, because that seems to be, there's this survival mode, now there's this comfort mode where you can just like kind of routinely do things. Now there's this next stage of, it's not survival, it's just testing. It's kind of like going through a trial to allow you to make it. It's like if I'm going to keep it in kind of gaming terms, it's like going and finding the next boss before you can move on to higher rewards, higher levels, higher access to things. It feels like I'm hovering around my next boss. I'm holding off. I press pause. I'm doing all of this stuff to prepare myself for it, but I'm not taking the hit. I'm not aggroing the boss to where it's like, I see you, it's time to do this so I can get on to the next phase. I find that surprising in a way. I realized even again, we're going to keep with the gaming analogy because that's what's resonating right now, but there are certain games that are just hard for me. What comes to mind is Elden Ring. I've never played a Souls game, so Elden Ring is like my first Souls-like game. You can't change the difficulty. It just is. You can't just button mash your way through this game. Much as I want to enjoy the story, I want to enjoy the scenery and all stuff like that. But these types of games, you really do have to strategize. You really do have to time things in order to overcome it. There's time spent collecting resources, leveling up with smaller challenges and things like that before you can really take on the larger boss. You get knocked out a lot. A lot. It just feels impossible. But then you kind of keep at it because you pick up the patterns. You start to realize, okay, these are the vulnerable moments that I can take advantage of in order to take down this foe. That's kind of where I'm at right now. The feeling that I had when I finally beat one of these harder bosses in Elden Ring, it is so satisfying. Because those type of games, it almost brings you to tears sometimes. I know it's like, it's just a game, but if you think about it in terms of life, overcoming those hurdles, especially those big ones that push you to the next tier, it's so satisfying. I've had very few moments in my adult life of that. Partially, I'd say majority my own doing of sabotaging myself from those moments where I could have overcome that had I pushed through and gather my resources and strategize. But now that I see it, it's one of those things where I realize I am knowingly turning my back on these level up opportunities because I'm afraid. I don't know what it looks like to win in those arenas, if you will. It's not even that I can't fathom what winning feels like, that I daydream all the time about basking in that level of basking in that new house, moving to another country or whatever. Like, there's so many things that are like, hey, this is the reward for this. It's the boss fight. This might take me months to overcome, because I gotta strategize, because I gotta make attempts and get knocked on my face a few times or 100 times to figure out those small windows of opportunity where I can really get a good hit in and progress. I'm recognizing that I'm tapping into the moment where I'm like, okay, what? I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to do this, because now you're just pissing me off that I can't get through this. It feels like it shouldn't be this hard to do. But I have to own that I'm rushing.